All right, so chapter 10, site selection. Let's look at the objectives for this chapter. Examine types of locations available to a retailer. Note decisions necessary in choosing a location. Describe the concept of 100% location. And some more objectives. Discuss several criteria for evaluating general retail selection locations and contrast alternative terms of occupancy. So in this chapter, we were going to look at, here's the 4 steps that we're going to overview, but we're going to look at 2 and 4. So the 4 are investigate alternative trading areas. We looked at that in chapter 9. Step 2, determine what type of location is desirable. We will look at that. And 3, select the general location. We will look at that. And evaluate alternative specific store sites. So we did step 1. Let's look at the next 3 steps. So 3 types of locations: isolated stores, stores by themselves, planned shopping center, and also unplanned business district. Okay, so let's look at the 3, and by definition we will look at the advantages and disadvantages, and you'll have a better understanding of the 3. So if we look at isolated stores, there's a whole bunch of advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: no competition. Of course, if it's isolated, it's by itself. Low rent, possibly flexibility, all the way down to easy parking. Disadvantages: difficulty attracting customers. We talked about Huff's law and also Riley's law about how certain areas need to be attracted to other stores, and population will always move around to certain areas to shop in. So if you're isolated, certainly you better be good, right? You better be good, because if you're isolated, certainly you'll get difficulty attracting customers. Travel distance is a big issue, all the way down to no cost sharing and also restrictive zoning laws. So isolated stores can be monster stores like Walmart and Costco. It could also be other types of stores. It could be also convenience stores like 7-Eleven or Boniswar. Unplanned districts: central business district, secondary, neighborhood business, and also string. So let's look at disadvantages and advantages. All right, so let's look at these 4 planned shopping centers or unplanned shopping centers. You have the 4 here. Certainly, if you have certain areas, neighborhood business district, that's easy. It's certainly an unplanned shopping area that appeals to convenience shopping and service needs, right? And if we look at secondary business, is an unplanned, again, in a city or town that is usually bounded by the intersection of 2 major streets. And if we also look at neighborhood business district, unplanned, again, shopping area that appeals to convenience stores and service needs of a single residential area. And a string is an unplanned shopping area, again, comprising a group of retail stores, often with similar or compatible product lines located along a street or highway. A string may start with an isolated store, success in them breeding competitors, car dealers, antique stores, and apparel. So a string location has many of the advantages of an isolated store, right? Along with some disadvantages: less product variety, increased travel for many consumers, right? So there's a lot of information there about a string. So if we look at planned shopping centers, right? Well-rounded assortments, strong suburban population, all the way down to pedestrian traffic, and also disadvantages: limited flexibility, all the way to too many malls and domination by anchor stores. That's a big issue in many of these malls. So this is planned. Characteristics of centers: features, there's many features: total site areas, principal tenants, as we said, number of stores, and also location, usually near a highway. Okay, so characteristics of centers. Also, here's all kinds of location along major thoroughfare and single residential areas. Now, if we look at what is a 100% location, 100% location is the optimum site for a store, the best possible site that you can put a store in. So that's what that means. And you have a huge evaluation. A lot of you look at pedestrian traffic, and you look at vehicular traffic, parking, transportation, what kind of stores, specific sites, terms of your occupancy, and overall rating. This is a checklist to find out, to look at locations and sites to look for your best possible site. And let's go through some of them. Pedestrian traffic, well, simply, most crucial measures of locations and site values are a number of type of people passing by, proper pedestrian traffic. Car traffic, that's what that means. Important for convenience stores, outlets, far away places, certainly. Car washes, as it says there. Another one is parking considerations. That's pretty simple, straightforward. The number of spots that you have, the availability also of employee parking plays a part. Price to charge customers for parking, if there is any. How many parking spots, right? Shopping centers equals 4 or 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. There's all kinds of formulas like this. Supermarkets a little bit more, and furniture stores a little bit less. Also, terms of occupancy considerations, the ownership versus leasing, types of lease, operations and maintenance, and also zoning districts that plays a big part, and also voluntary regulations that come into play. The types of leases, let's look at them all. There is 5 of them. First one is maintenance increase recoupment lease. Here, provisions allow rent to increase if a property owner's taxes, heating bills, insurance, or other expenses rise beyond a certain point. So this protects certainly the leaser. Net lease calls for maintenance costs to be paid by the retailer. If you have a straight lease specifying a fixed amount of rent that is to be paid periodically during the entire term of lease. Typical, this is what most leases look like, typically paid out in monthly installments. This is also called a flat lease. A percentage lease to pay a base rent plus a percentage of gross sales over a certain minimum. So usually used in malls and other multi-tenant retail locations. This one's a little bit more tricky when it comes to more expensive maybe also when it comes to leasing. And a graduate lease, did I forget one? Nope, a straight lease, we got that. Percentage lease, graduate lease, okay. An agreement under which a tenant and the landlord agree to a periodic adjustment of monthly payments. The agreement may reflect an increase in the tenant's possible payments due to market conditions. Right, we missed one thing about the string, and I think we did talk about that, but a string, just please pays attention to that. Again, a string location has many of the advantages of an isolated store site. Better road visibility is one, low operating costs, along with disadvantages, of course, like we said before, higher advertising and zoning restrictions. So due to being in a string rather than an isolated site, may be greater than the customer's loss to competitors. This is why 4 gas stations located on opposing corners happens on many times. So strings, you will see that everywhere, and it's a good thing to remember. Great, so that's all I got for you in this chapter, and we will do the next chapter next time. Thank you.